morning, good morning, good morning. Please share, please like, please cascade po. Antay-antayin ko muna na mag-cascade ang live ko bago tayo magsalita. Good morning sa lahat. Please share para makabot sa marami. Please like, please cascade. Whew. I didn't see this coming. I didn't see na Oxford will have a study on this life-saving drug actually. Kasi nga, ang FABUNAN antiviral injection is wala pa siyang clinical study per se. The FDA in the Philippines, parang the outright did not accepted the FABUNAN antiviral injection. And so they went to Indonesia for the clinical trial to start. However, I was not aware until I came across a news article sent to me by my good friend si Mr. Jake Bedonia na he's taga Toboso, Negros Occidental, and then he is based in London. He sent to me the BBC article, and when I found out that the component or the medication that proved to be life-saving is dexamethasone, so I went to Oxford study. And it's already in the mainstream media in the US, barely an hour ago. Nandoon na siya sa Washington Post, sa NBC, sa The Guardian. So, ang FABUNAN antiviral injection is composed of two molecules. The dexamethasone, which is a steroid, which is naturally an anti-inflammatory agent, and of course, aprucaine. Procaine is a derivative of lidocaine. It's for pain. It's a derivative of an anesthetic pain medication. And dexamethasone also is for pain, for inflammation mainly, and a steroid. Ang FEA, ang FABUNAN is a combination of this. But the study in the Oxford University with 5,000 enrollees, it is the biggest trial testing of any existing treatment of COVID-19. And with the 5,000 enrollees, it's divided into three. The trial led by a team of Oxford University, around 2,000 hospital patients. 2,000 patients, given dexamethasone, compared to 4,000 who did not receive the drug. The good thing with the study, it is credible because it has controlled group. It is randomized. It has placebo effect. It is multi-blind. This is a credible study. You cannot say it is an anecdotal because there is a control group wherein they are the one giving the dexamethasone. Meron ding tinatawag na placebo effect, yung wala. So ikumpara mo ang nabigyan ng dexamethasone at ang hindi nabigyan, at nakikita nila based on the study that for patients na in the ventilator, it cut the risk of death up to 28 to 40%. It is life-saving. Hindi mamatay ang pasyente up to 40% of them sa na-enroll if they're given dexamethasone. So mga pasyente naman na nag-oxygen, it cut the risk of dying from 25 to 20%. So this is a breakthrough. This is a breakthrough kasi ang dexamethasone is murang gamot. Dito, tingnan ko kasi injection siya, pero pwede para siyang tablet. It can be taken by tablet. This is the ipakita ko sa inyo. Okay. Okay. So, tingnan mo. It reduced the death by 1/3 in ventilated patients. Rate ratio is 95% coefficient interval. Look at the p-value. 0.0003. For a study to be statistically significant, that means the drug is effective and it I would say validates the null hypothesis, kung ano ang hypothesis niya, if effective siya. That means if it is near 0.05, it is statistically significant. That means it is credible at it is effective. Tingnan mo ha. 0.003, and by 1/5 other patients receiving oxygen. P-value is also very credible. Oh, statistically significant, 0.0021. There was no benefit among those who did not require respiratory support. So, there was no benefit kasi asymptoma, sila? Mild symptoms sila. So, that means this is more beneficial in preventing death at hindi siya makakamatay. Breakthrough study, randomized. Kasi ganito yan. In hierarchy of evidence in a clinical trial, there is a pyramid of hierarchy of evidence. The highest there is the randomized controlled study. Diha dapit systematic review, and then you go to the case report, and then you go below that I would say observational study, and then below that is a peer review. So nasa pinakamataas siya na hierarchy. That means this is a credible study. So since the dexamethasone molecule is a component of FAI, that being said, even without a specific clinical study ang FAI, considering that part of the molecule niya is the dexamethasone, kasi dalawang molecule combination siya, procaine and dexamethasone. I would say, wala pang study ang procaine, pero the dexamethasone is there, na effective siya. I would say, tama ang FABUNAN, na vindicate sila. Bakit kayo, FDA, hindi nyo tinanggap for a clinical trial? You should have give them the benefit of the doubt rather than you dismiss it outright. I have to admit, I did not see this coming. What does it mean? Because I was asking for a manuscript of clinical study of the FABUNAN antiviral injection. There being none. Bakit? Hindi sila binigyan ng chance ng FDA to undergo what we call a clinical trial. At they dismiss it outright because the procaine molecule is an anesthetic effect, pain reliever. The dexamethasone is a steroid. It is an anti-inflammatory, and it's been effective for years in treating range of condition with an inflammatory process. For asthma, for allergy, sa lahat-lahat ng masakit na may inflammation, naibigay na itong dexamethasone noon pa. And so, because of that, I would say, specific purpose of the medication, ang FDA, they denied it outright na this is not indicated for the COVID-19 kasi nga it's a virus, something like that. But according to Dr. FABUNAN, na it is not about the indication, the specific, it is about the mechanism of action. Yun na yun pumasok ang anti-inflammatory effect ng dexamethasone. And you know what? This is a case of cytokine storm. The one that causing death is not actually the virus. It is the immunoreaction. It is the natural reaction of the body, which is the cytokine storm. The cytokine is a natural anti-inflammatory hormone. When there is a foreign body, na makapasok sa katawan, the immune system, especially the macrophages, the mga B cells, mga T cells, they will actually activated. And once they're activated, it is a physiologic mechanism that our body will produce what we call cytokine. And cytokine is a natural hormone that would induce self-inflammation and inflammatory process. Kasi, may mga soldier, may mga kalaban tayo. So, mag-create siya ng inflammatory process as a part of the immunity, as a part ng gera. So by doing so, there is what we call a cytokine storm, a pag-release na parang uncontrollable release of cytokine. So grabe ang inflammatory process sa lungs, sa blood vessels, sa heart. Kaya nga there is what we call a difficulty at oxygenation and ventilation. Walang proper perfusion sa blood kasi nga grabe ang inflammatory process, and the lungs, kung may inflammatory process is may water, so the lungs, malumos na ang lungs, so hindi na siya makapag elastic recoil in expiratory phase. And on top of that, if the blood vessel is having an inflammatory process, it be injured, it could burst, and the blood pressure will increase, and when it happen, it could cause, if it go to the heart attack, if it go to the brain, it could cause stroke. So, the dexamethasone will control the release or the activity of the cytokine which causes the inflammation. And since this is a problem mainly of inflammatory process, cytokine storm, the dexamethasone has been proven to be effective in controlling the inflammation. Hence, if inflammation has been controlled, the body cannot, physiologically, it won't react in a way na grabe ang inflammatory process. So, makontrol ang injury sa mga cells, sa mga tissues. And with that, nakikita na dito sa isang hospital, 19 out of 20 katao na, that's 99%, na hindi kailangan i-intubate, at meron din isa 19 out of 20 katao na sa isang study kasi siya, more than 2,000 hospitals siya. The study is called recovery trial. So 19 out of 20 ang hindi kailangan ng hospitalization, and it prevented death from 40% to 20%. It cut short the 1 out of 7 ang hindi mamatay kung nasa ventilator na, kung mabigyan ng dexamethasone. Dexamethasone is a very cheap anti-inflammatory agent. Pwedeng pill accordingly sa study, or pwedeng injection, but it cannot be bought over the counter. You need to have a medical doctor to prescribe you the medication. My God, tama ang FEA. I don't see this coming actually. Kasi nga, they don't have their own clinical study. Kasi nga, FDA prevented them from conducting a clinical trial. Sabi ko nga, if I was the FDA, I will give them the benefit of the doubt. I will allow a clinical study to start, considering that in a clinical trial, you don't go inject right away to the human body. You go first in vivo study at the petri dish or at the test tube. And from there, if you see if there's efficacy, then you go in vitro study. You go to the mice, and then if it's still effective and good safety profile, you start the phase 1 clinical trial. And then from in vivo, sa petri dish pa lang, wala nang effect, wala nang resulta. Pagpunta sa mice, hindi maganda safety profile, hindi effective, then you stop. But what the FDA did is they outright did not give chance for the FAI to at least exhibit its capacity of efficacy and safety profile. Mr. Jake Bidunya, ito ng barkada nako, siya talaga ang nakaano. Siya yung nagpadala sa akin. Nani sa London, maing taon ni nga nurse, mauning sunod nga mayor sa Tubuso, Negros Occidental. Bay, salamat, thank you for sending me this one. Vindicated ang FABUNAN antiviral injection, even if the Oxford study did not mention the FABUNAN antiviral injection, considering that it just used the molecule of dexamethasone. And knowing that the generic name of the FABUNAN antiviral injection is dexamethasone and procaine. The dexamethasone side has good statistical significance and credibility and efficacy in treating COVID-19. So, ang procaine side, wala pang study. I don't know if may nagsa-study sa procaine. But with a combination of procaine and dexamethasone, there is no clinical trial yet. Yung sa Indonesia, meron, it just started. So, it will take time para makikita how effective the combination is. But regardless if there is no specific study of the FEI in combination sa procaine at dexamethasone, the fact that this is a randomized controlled multi-blind placebo effect study with multi-sampling, kasi for in variables of research, to be able to exhibit credibility of research, it should be randomized, it should has a control group, it should has a placebo effect, it should be multi-blind. The tester and the patient are not aware that this has placebo effect, or this is the medication is a control group yung tinake mo, and it should have a multi-sample. 5,000 patient is good exhibition na this is a credible study, and the location are 2,000 hospitals spread out all over. So the study is a replicative of a general population. The p-value is 0.003, which is very near to 0.05. Hence, it is statistically significant. In the hierarchy of evidence, makapasa siya, the molecule of dexamethasone. So even if it's not the specific FAI, the fact that the FAI utilized dexamethasone, the effectiveness of the molecule has been exhibited specifically in treating COVID. Without any question, dexamethasone has been used for several years already in treating a large range of inflammatory conditions. Tested ng efficacy nito. Could it be cancer? Could it be allergic reaction? Could it be asthma? Could it be anything that has an inflammatory process? Dexamethasone has been used for years already. But for COVID-19, this is the largest study of a medication, ang dexamethasone. So, does it mean na kayo magbili na lang kayo? No, you cannot buy that without a prescription of a medical doctor. You have to go through the process. Nasa media na siya sa Amerika, NBC, The Guardian, Washington Post, BBC ang nagsimula. Thank you by Jake Bidunia. Thank you for sending me this one. So, when I read yung sinabi na dexamethasone proves to be the first life-saving drug sa BBC ng COVID-19. So, when I read, I said, was this the generic name, the molecule of FABUNAN antiviral injection? Isa sa dalawa na molecule. So when I researched the FABUNAN, indeed it is a combination of dexamethasone molecule and procaine. Hence, kung tutuusin, 50% na ng combination sa FABUNAN, ang dexamethasone, is 99% effective. Ang procaine na lang. So even though without the procaine, kung mag-dexamethasone lang sila, effective na to prevent death and to prevent severity. And even if for patients who are in a ventilator, it prevents death 1 out of 7, and it prevents people having an oxygen to have a severity of the condition. This is a breakthrough. Congrats, FABUNAN. But FDA, how can you explain that? Ako hindi ko kayo pangunahan, but you need to explain. Bakit ninyo outright na hindi inano? Kasi if I was the FDA, I will give them the chance to exhibit their efficacy, the safety profile, the immunogenicity, the clinical profile, by giving them chance to do the clinical study. Wow, grabe. Na-shock ko. Grabe, no? So, hello muna sa mga tao, be. Julieta Tiborcio, Ann Shap, Aurora Mariano, Emeline Loreto, Milds Conita, yung sa Sharon Conita, Sher Angela Enriquez, Sabito Sabado, Deborah Camasora, hello day, kumusta taga-Rondani sa Arizona. Myrna De Silva, bro Alex Obines sa Darwin, Australia. Ching Bautista from Montreal. Orange Christian Alson, mag-YouTube ka, marunong ka na ako mag-super chat. Di man ako marunong mag-YouTube. Kaya nga, parang I don't know how, hindi ako techie, I don't know how to navigate to do the YouTube. Pwede na akong maka-live sa YouTube, pwede na akong but hindi, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's awkward to do it there yet. I mean, dito ako, walang bayad dito, wala. Pero hopefully, I'll go to YouTube para naman, at least, kasi panay na tayo volunteer for 3 years doing all of this, right? Kina Tarepi, kumusta? Sandiel Tenebro, Gia Uy, Ma Mary Ann Talaba, Maria Haya. So, Tito Eduardo Casola Dakil of Modesto, California. Actually, I have to admit, I did not see this coming. Not that I don't believe the FEA. I do give them the benefit of the doubt, pero wala nga silang clinical study. Marami sa inyo nagsasabi, can you discuss the FEI? I said, I cannot make a comment in fairness to the FABUNAN. Kasi wala akong critically appraise na manuscript of clinical study kasi wala, hindi pinayagan. So how can you make a comment out of anecdotal, out of anecdotal insights? So I have to, as a formal, clinical research scientist, I will base it on the formality of standardized clinical study. And ito na nga, meron na. See? You know what? The FABUNAN could cite this article already. Even hindi pa tapos yung clinical trial sa Indonesia. They should cite this one. And I believe they will. They will. So, what do you call this one? Wow, grabe. I did not see this coming kasi I thought walang nag-create ng study about this. I thought sa Indonesia lang with a combination of protein. Pero meron, Oxford University pa. Can you imagine, See? I quote, a total of 2,104 patients were chosen at random. Random is in any particular order to receive 6 mg of dexamethasone once a day. So 6 mg. Either by mouth, oral, or intravenous IV injection for 10 days. And they were compared with 4,321 patients chosen also at random to continue with the normal care alone. Among the later group of patients, among the 4,321 patients at random that were chosen without the dexamethasone, 28-day mortality was highest, and they required 41% of them required ventilation. So, and intermediate in those who required oxygen at 25% and lowest among who did not require oxygen. So what does it mean? It simply stated that kinumpara ang more than 2,000 na tao na binigyan ng dexamethasone 6 mg once a day, either oral or injection for 10 days. Kinumpara sila sa 4,321 na pasyente na hindi binigyan ng dexamethasone at for 10 days inobserbaran din, continue normal care alone. So, among sa grupo sa 4,321 na hindi nabigyan ng dexamethasone in a 28-day period, pinakamataas ang maraming namatay sa kanila. 41% sa naka-ventilator namatay. My God, 41% of 4,221. I would say, 1/6 or around that one. And intermediate in those who required oxygen. Sa mga required ng oxygen na hindi nabigyan ng dexamethasone, namatay sa kanila 25%. And yung hindi namatay, yung 13% lang ang hindi nangailangan ng respiratory intervention. Either na-atake, namatay diretso, So what does it mean? Dexamethasone reduces death by 1/3 in a ventilated patients with a rate ratio of 0.65 or 95% coefficient interval. Grabe, very credible ito talaga. 1/3 na prevent ang death. And by 1/5 of patients, 20% of patients na nakatanggap ng oxygen na prevent sila na mamatay. This is a credible study. Remember the medication remdesivir? Remdesivir does not prevent death. According to the study, the remdesivir, it just shortened the length of the hospital from average stay of hospitalization with COVID-19 patients from 15 days, it shortened only up to 11 days. It saved time for 4 days staying in the hospital. But does the remdesivir medication prevent death? There was no study on that. And it did not exhibit it. It needs further research. Pero ito siya, it is life-saving because it exhibited with the control group, comparative group, na placebo, versus sa kanila na binigyan ng dexamethasone, it prevented death. What you call this one, versus the control group, it prevented death. Like sa mga nabigyan, hindi walang namatay sa kanila, versus sa nabigyan 41% ang namatay. So this is a credible study talaga. Mura lang ito, mabili ito with the prescription of the doctor. And ito na, sundin na to doktor ng medical doctor sa Pilipinas. They should follow this protocol. So the recovery trial includes medications that are deemed effective for COVID-19. One of that is remdesivir. It shortens the length of the hospitalization. Another one is the dexamethasone. This is the result of the study, very credible. Another one was hydrochloroquine, which was ceased or na-stop ang study because of it showed initially that it did not give any benefit to the patient. So this stopped the study. Sa lahat ng gamot na undergoing a recovery trial worldwide, ito ang pinaka-credible so far na lumabas sa study. I cannot believe it. Wow, grabe. Wow, believe ako sa mga fabunan, ha? But again, this is not their study. This is Oxford University. But considering that the molecule is the same with them, the FABUNAN can cite this one. Right? Cheryl Aligado, Enali Aquino, Quinstar Cathy, Shatrin Pimentel, hi. Jocelyn R. Brugina, they are right all along. Kachiva Yu, Annabel Erenio, they are Maria Manalo. They are right all along. Wow, grabe. Jake Bidunyam to bay. Kani si ako ni amigo na ani sa London, mauni ang naghatag na og idea nga yini. Kuan na, you know. This is really sad. Why is that? Steven Victoriano, kumusta sir? May YouTube na ako pero hindi man ako marunong. May YouTube na ako pero hindi ako marunong mag-YouTube. Hello, Boss Romy Abad, Boboy Rodriguez, Zurich, Switzerland. Kontakin ko dito si Bro Erwel, si Mr. Rio, kasi kaibigan kami dito, message kami sa Facebook. Kasi he's a proponent of the FAI. And kontakin ko siya dito. I believe alam na nila. Ngayon lang to, isang oras pa lang to lumabas sa media sa Amerika, sa London. Galing, no? Next. Saan yung papel? Bilat singawa. I'm sorry. Saan to? Kagabi, naging guest tayo sa a joint oversight committee hearing on Committee on Health sa Senate and the House of Representatives. So, nabigyan tayo ng chance na makapagsalita as one of the resource person. It is on amending the Universal Healthcare Bill and of course the PhilHealth Law. So, I was given good 10 minutes to speak. Again, ang pinanukala ko na ipinush ko kasi nga the 3% mandatory sa mga OFW. So, yun dapat ay tanggalin at yun dapat ay hindi gawing 3%, hindi gawing compounding. Dapat fixed rate lang, say 2,000 a year. Yun lang for public welfare, kahit may sarili tayong insurance. Para yun sa public welfare man yan, socialize para sa mga indigent o mga pamilya na naiwan sa Pilipinas kung mga hospital ang ilangan ng PhilHealth. At least makatulong tayo for public welfare. Subsidy sa mga indigent. Pero ang pinupush ko talaga to prevent fraud, kasi nga 90% sa PhilHealth ng pera nawala dahil sa fraud, is an electronic medical record with a coded billing. Kasi kung computerized lahat, reporting, reimbursement, ma-prevent ang overutilization of services, ma-prevent ang tinatawag na parang overbilling. So, with that savings alone, the DOH should be willing to spend millions of pesos or billion at least to invest in a software of electronic medical record with a coded billing. So it will prevent fraud of billions of pesos. So kung ma-prevent ang fraud, perhaps hindi na kailangan na magkolekta pa sa OFW na pang tustos sa PhilHealth, considering that ma-offset na yung collectible from the OFW. Ma-offset na kasi kukunin na yun sa perang hindi nanakaw sa mga kurakot. Kasi may electronic medical record na. Iba kasi pag coded ang billing, coded ang reimbursement, katulad sa Amerika. It cannot 100% eliminate corruption, but at least as data stated at Centers of Medicare and Medicaid program dito sa Amerika, 90% of fraud were prevented. It minimized a whole lot. So yun. What do you call this one? Yun lang. And of course, ang ipinanukala ko katulad sa Amerika, ang Board of Utilization Review, an oversight committee composed of medical professionals which has knowledge and experience in utilization review process to ensure that there is a medical necessity in any medical procedures. Hindi lang subjective na order sa doktor na pneumonia, ang pasyente nagka-pneumonia, i-admit yan sa ospital. Mauubos ang pera ng pasyente kasi ang doktor mismo, hala, you can stay there 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Binaligyaig baboy, binaligyaig lupa para bago makauwi, ubusan ng pera. Dito, hindi yan pwede sa Amerika. Merong criteria, magsabi ang Medicare, average length of stay for a patient with pneumonia is up to 3 days. So if the patient cannot be discharged or the doctor or the hospital won't discharge after 3 days, ang babayaran sa insurance or sa Medicare dito is only up to 3 days. Thereafter, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, kung pasyente hindi mo dinischarge, hindi na yan babayaran ang i-reimburse sa medical insurance or sa Medicare, at kukunti na lang ang reimbursement nila. Instead say mag-reimbursement of 100,000 in 3 days, mag-reimbursement na lang ng 50,000 and kukunin yan sa profit. So incentives, they have to incentivize the delivery of care so that the medical doctor will strive to deliver quality of care, healthcare services at a short period of time. So the longer the patient stay in the hospital, the shorter should be the reimbursement. The shorter the patient stay in the hospital, the higher would be the reimbursement. So they will strive hard to deliver quality of care at a short time in a cost-effective manner. Sa Pilipinas, walang ganun eh. Based lang sa subjective insights ng doktor, magsabing doktor, a simple case of pneumonia, magstay ng 2 weeks. Hala, ubusan ng pera. Kasi ang doktor magsabi, okay pa na, pero ang pasyente, pneumonia, you can just take antibiotic. If the patient can walk up and about, the patient can go home, can continue to take the medication. Grabe ang milking and commercialization of healthcare sa Pilipinas. The autonomy that we gave to the medical doctor is something that extraordinary. Kailangan na lagyan ng criteria based sa panukala dito sa sa CMS and sa PhilHealth, na merong capitation on or ceiling on reimbursement. Kasi it is prone to abuse. We call that overutilization of services or overbilling. We don't have that mechanism of checks and balance in the Philippines. Na-observe niyo, ma-hospital mga tao dyan sa Pilipinas, 1 linggo, 2 linggo, 3 linggo. Anong kaso? Diabetes. Anong kaso? Pneumonia. Dito, maximum length of stay, manganak ka dito ang tao, 2 araw lang, uwi na. Mag-knee surgery, hip surgery, 1-2 araw, uwi na. Patayuin ka na in a day or 2. And then the next stay would be sa bahay para ma-shorten ang reimbursement, makasave ang gobyerno, at hindi ma-abuse kasi the average length of stay per hospitalization dito sa Amerika, the cost is $10,000 a day per patient. Can you imagine if the patient will stay up to 45 days, how much money will be lost from the government, from the Medicare? So they have to put a ceiling. So kung ang doktor, they will strive hard in 3 days that the patient should go out and be discharged at home. And then, meron na lang visiting doctor, visiting nurse, visiting PT to continue the quality of care. They will provide personalized quality of care at a lower cost. Sa Pilipinas, hindi eh. The doctor is the king of the road. Magsabi na, hala, ubusan na. May lupa ka, may gano'n. Hala, ubusan ng pera. Mali yan. That's commercialization of healthcare. We don't have that in the Philippines. That's why this is what I am pushing about. I hope it will be implemented. And I'm also pushing for an oversight committee, an accountable care organization. It is composed of doctors, insurance representatives, and patient. Kasi kung ang board of directors, mga medical doctors lang, they will protect their interest. There should be from the healthcare insurance to provide quality assurance in the delivery. And there should be patient representative na civilian na hindi doktor to protect the interest and the right of the patient. It will act as a patient advocate. Wala yan sa Pilipinas eh. In all decision making sa mga hospital, sa mga PhilHealth, walang taga-side sa pasyente. Merong taga-side sa mga doctors. So, it cannot prevent, abuse. But with patient advocate, on the side of the patient, civilian, hindi doktor, it will protect the right of the patient. Yan ang pinush ko. Kasi wala yan sa Universal Healthcare Law at sa PhilHealth. Ano pa? Utilization review. So, basically yun. Another inputs. FABUNAN. Francis Leo Marcos. Alam ko sa inyo, maraming nagagalit bakit nakulong si Francis Leo Marcos or si Mangusin. Note that walang makukulong na tao na tumutulong. Hindi siya nakulong dahil tumulong siya. Nakulong siya, may sala siya sa batas. So tigilan na ninyo na magalit bakit siya nakulong, i-bash pang NBI, i-bash pa tayo, nakatulong ka ba, na ganito, ganyan. When can you appreciate facts? You don't need to have a conviction, to know, to have a common sense. Ang tao ay he is really a fraud, that guy. Ang sa akin lang is matuto kayong magkaroon ng common sense. Huwag niyo antayin na kayo ang maloko. Huwag niyo antayin na kayo ang malinlang. So, presented na lahat ng evidence. Meron ng maraming biktima, mga affidavit, lahat. Kilala ko nga isang biktima niya. Tapos you cannot appreciate the facts. Kasi nga, bakit ka mag-judge or bakit sa husgado na, ganyan-ganyan. You are preventing a healthy discussion on digging up the real score of the story. Just so he won't be exposed out in the open. Kung wala siyang kasalanan, bakit kayo i-prevent na ma-discuss? He's a public figure. He made himself a public figure already. Right? So, ang sa akin lang is, matuto tayong wag malinlang, matuto tayong wag mapaniwala para hindi tayo maloko. Right? Bossing Lex Villagonzalo, Mayan Criver, Ryan Cortez Federal from LA and Apas Lahog, Mustagaw, Enale Villacampa, Dadul Skirag, Christopher Casabel. Sabi niya, murag na ako'y duda aning FDA do. Nganong wala gi? Janice Viola Gillian. Actually, ang FDA, magud ni. Ako, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a physical therapist. But for every molecule or for every, say, prescription, there should be an indication. So if you prescribe something, a laser therapy, or a manual therapy, or a functional mobility training, or a balance training, or so, sa gamot, if you prescribe a medicine, there is an indication. And what you prescribe should be specific to the indication. So, ang tiningnan lang nila talaga na ano yung direct indication ng dexamethasone at procaine. And knowing that dexamethasone is an anti-inflammatory medication, an NSAIDs, and procaine is anti-pain, an anesthetic effect, an anesthesia, a derivative of lidocaine. So they thought na sa COVID-19, it is like a viral pneumonia. It is like a respiratory ailment kasi nga kulang pa sa research. So that's what they thought. Not knowing that lately the research would point out on massive cytokine storm. So, dito na pumasok ang efficacy ng dexamethasone. So, since they take it point blank based on the molecule na specific indication sa dexamethasone is anti-inflammatory effect and procaine is for pain, and they thought COVID-19 is mainly a disease and respiratory system, they outright said now this is not the indication for that. But the FABUNAN explained that it's not that of the indication, it is the mechanism of action, which tama kasi there's a massive cytokine storm inflammatory process. So with it, effective ang dexamethasone, kahit ang procaine wala pang study, kahit walang specific study with a combination of both. The fact that dexamethasone alone can stand and life-saving to prevent death, at least there is hope for COVID-19 patients. So, Gao Niña Villalongador in Texas, kumusta? Tuana bitaw sa laing lasod ang nag-clinical study. Tita Marina Magpali, Ansap, Richie Vergara, Dol, kumusta? Og Van, the wife, the better half, happy belated happy birthday. Belated happy birthday ni Senator Bongo. So, kumusta sa inyong lahat? And salamat. And it's already morning here, 6:52. Thank you for tuning in Real Talk Discussion That Matters. Follow me at Facebook, Real Talk Discussion. So, naay nag-invite na ako nga, do your YouTube. Kasi nga, mahilig daw siyang mag-super chat kani. Di na nako balibaran kung mauna adto na ako mag-YouTube ko kay bisag I'm not good in doing the YouTube. I can do live there already, but I'm not that familiar with how to do things at YouTube kay di ako masyadong marunong, di ako techie. Rian Tanduan, Becky Tubanali. So, good news ito, but I don't know how will the FDA will explain their side on this. Thank you for tuning in Real Talk Discussions That Matters. I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.